Howdy! I know it's been a while since I've been online, and that's because life has been really hectic. Not only with half term and the kids, but also with the opera weekend I ran with Christopher Cowell, which was so much fun. And we didn't talk about the dreaded T word at all. We didn't touch on vocal technique directly. We looked at how we can better connect with and engage our audience. The idea being that once you get that going, once you get a better connection with your audience, not only do you benefit from that better connection and you engage your audience better, but you also perform better, even enhancing your, dare I say it, vocal technique without even thinking about it. We've had brilliant feedback, which is wonderful, on the basis that actually that is what people got. They got what we set out to give them, which is fabulous. And we actually saw that in their performances at the end of the weekend. Not only did they engage us more as an audience, but they sang better, which was wonderful. Today, I want to talk to you about neuroplasticity and how that ties in with a passion of mine. As most of you know, I am absolutely passionate about the importance of enjoying not only your performance, but your preparation and practice that goes into that performance. Now, before I get into the neurobiology, I'm a positive zealot, if you'll excuse the pun, about the negative impact of self-criticism on our performance and our preparation, on the negative impact on being hard on ourselves. Nearly all high achievers do it because they believe it does make them better. I mean, after all, they're high achievers. How else did they think they got there? And it's true, it can be effective, but it is not the most effective way of achieving improvements in what you do. And not only that, but it comes at a high price. It comes at the cost to your self-esteem and to your motivation, because we stop enjoying what we're doing. And it promotes a fixed mindset instead of a growth mindset. So it actually inhibits our learning in the longer term. It's better simply to be curious, to play around with ideas, and in our performance, in our preparation, to play around with ideas, and even in our performance, to focus on what our purpose is and enjoy it. Because if we enjoy it and get committed to it and really properly get into what we're doing, then our audience will too. That's not to say we're not being professional or taking what we're doing seriously. It's if we start to take ourselves too seriously, that rigidity and self-criticism creeps in. Now, I've done lots of different blogs on various topics around this, and if you want to take a look at them, they're all up on my website. But today I want to talk about, as I said, neuroplasticity. Recently, I've been doing a course on interpersonal neurobiology by Dan Siegel, which is fascinating. And he talks about the importance of play for neuroplasticity. For those of you who don't know, neuroplasticity is the ability of our brain to change and adapt, to rewire. And that happens not only during the learning process, but it also happens when brain injuries take place, whether by stroke or by accident. But we're talking about learning here. And when we're learning and practicing and preparing, we are attempting to change the way our brain fires. And whether we're learning words or different ways of doing things, we're attempting to change the way our brain is wired so that we can do it in a different way, and that way becomes easier and easier so that we become unconsciously competent and do it without thinking. So we're rewiring our brains. Now, there are practically an infinite number of ways that our brain can fire. We have 100 billion neurons, and each of those have 10,000 possible connections. So some genius has calculated that we have 10 to the power of 1,000,000 possible different on-off switches, on-off positions in our brain. And that is apparently more than the number of atoms in the known universe. These are figures way too big for my head, But essentially, they mean that we have, as I say, practically an infinite number of ways of wiring our brain. Not only this, but we now know that neuroplasticity is lifelong. So we can change the way our brain fires till the day our brain stops working and we stop living. So it is harder to rewire something that's been wired a certain way, but it is possible. So I'm too old to learn that isn't really an argument in terms of the neurobiological sense. What Dan Siegel says about play is that play opens up our minds and puts us into a state of receptivity. And it's in that receptive state that neuroplasticity emerges, so the ability to change our brain. Not only that, they've done research that shows that laughter also puts us into the condition of neuroplasticity. So play and laughter encourage us and help us to learn. Yay! When we're at play, our brains are more capable of changing and we're more capable of learning. So being more light-hearted about what we're doing, about our performance, not only benefits our self-esteem and our motivation, because frankly, we are always more motivated to do the stuff that we enjoy, but it also enhances our ability to actually learn neurobiologically. It helps us create more effective patterns in our brains. So if you do one thing today, please go out and in whatever you're doing, have some fun. I'm Hattie Volker. Thank you very much.